This is my mate Martin's brother-in-law's bike. He lives out in Portugal. It was built, I think he said Miami, in the 80s, or late 80s I think. That's what it looked like when he bought it. And basically he said it's virtually unrideable. It vibrated so much, it didn't steer properly or anything like that. It went to P&D Customs afterwards and had some extras put on to make the mudguard move with the forks. But basically, from what I can make out, looking at pictures of these are aftermarket forks like Drag Specialities or somebody's, I don't know, aftermarket girder forks. It's like the bottom springs were too long, so these were always on, that's your rebound. So if you go down a bump, your suspension is supposed to move like that.
Yeah.
Which it will move, but because these were so long, you're always on rebound.
Right.
So if you come out of that hole, it's just going to go boom and try and throw you off. Nothing fitted properly. You couldn't get the front wheel out because the spindle they'd machined. Basically, you have to assemble it all in a lump and put the whole wheel in, which is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
So we've machined out one side rocker, made it so the spindle will pull through, machined up a spacer for this side. Now, the angle of that is down at the moment, yeah? When it's down with the weight of the bike down, you want it to be at that angle. If you hit a bump like it is now, it's transferring all the shudder that way, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas it should be going up like that.
Yeah.
Which it wouldn't do when it was like that. They've got the rockers on upside down. But can you see that fork is lower than that, like that at the moment, yeah? But that's with the weight of the bike on it.
Yeah.
So we'll get this off in a minute and I'll show you. It's never going to work. That won't work as suspension, it can't do. That has to be at that angle, so it will physically do that.
Okay.
You can't really see it there. As we lower the bike, you'll see it. All of these brake parts, nothing fitted properly at all. It was all loose and flapping around. So we've rebushed all these, rebushed all of these, rebushed all of those, put the rockers on properly because they weren't done up. These forks bars that go through, look, see those two are different lengths.
Yeah.
There's nothing we could do about that because they're on a taper, yeah? They weren't done up. The nuts were done up tight, but the taper wasn't seated. So as you go up a bump, the forks were flexing that way, yeah? So we've had to machine up those spacers to take them back down onto the taper in here to hold that. This centre pin, they do only rest in there, but it wasn't done up at all. So everything again was moving. So we've reset all the headstock bearings, re-shimmed all of that top end up. Rockers, obviously when it comes down I'll show you what it looks like. We've had to take all the brake lines off. We'll get the handlebars back on it because he said it was vibrating so much you couldn't ride it. But if it was down on this, on the recoil, these things, they go donk, 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 because it's a big old engine in this. You want the forks to be able to move.
Yeah.
If they're solid, it's just all going to come back through the handlebars, everything. Yeah. Like he said, it was virtually unrideable, which it would have been in that configuration, the way it was. So basically, by chopping an inch out of these springs, because it had that length on the top again, yeah, and you have to compress them so much just to get these springs on, it's just not right.
Yeah.
And having looked at plenty of pictures on the computer, it should be about 2/3 to 1/3. Yeah, this was like nowhere near that, nowhere near it. So it was never ever going to work as such. So hopefully now we'll get all the bars back on it and everything, because literally you couldn't even push it in a straight line. It just wanted to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Just flop over. But because all of that was down there, that's what it's doing. It just your roll point is gone completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when that comes back up, it settles the wheel down where it should be. you'll see it when it's back down, it actually looks right, whereas before it just looked all on tiptoes.
Yeah.
Just didn't look right at all.
Now, what bike is it? Is it like a kit bike or?
It's, yeah, I'm guessing so. It's what they call a Delkron Motor, I think. Pretty sure it's a Delkron. So it's like a aftermarket copy of a Harley Davidson. It's got Harley Davidson written on it, but I don't know what the frame is. Could be a Porco. I'm not sure what the frame is. Obviously custom built out in America. Guy fell in love with it, bought it. Had it all resprayed here by P&D's. They did the mudguard conversion. I think they've changed a few other bits and pieces on it. But it's that's the carburettor that was on it. That's the colour it was.
Oh, nice.
So you had that hanging out of there, which again is just in the way of everything. He said he couldn't get his foot on the brake, on the brake pedal or anything. So it's literally, it was built as a custom bike.
So that was hanging out of, oh my lord.
Yeah, that's your. So he's put an S&S shorty on it. Ooh, God, I've broken it. He's put an S&S shorty on it, which is a much smaller carb, just comes to here, you know. So you can get your leg down to that. He's not happy with the seat arrangement because it's just got a really, I'll get it down in a minute, a really low seat on it. But he said it is so hard because it's got no rear suspension, it's a hardtail.
God. So
we've got to try and work out something with the seat. I'm not quite sure what yet. Exhaust, to get it into Portugal, it's got to be under 86 decibels. And this has just got open pipes on it. It's seriously loud.
Yeah.
So you can get what they call decibel reducers, which you slide up inside the exhaust pipe, and then things called super traps that go on the end.
Yeah.
And they're like a round baffle, and you can add or detract your plates in there for how quiet or noisy you want it. So just buy a set of super traps for it and see if we can get it down. The only other option apart from that's going to be your cheapest way to go at the moment. The only other option apart from that is buy something like 2 electric glide right hand pipes and put them on it. But it's all to do with lengths and where the pipes are going at the moment. So I've got to get those back on and try and work out how we're going to do that. I'll start with the decibel reducers and the super traps just to see if we can get the noise down to a reasonable level, you know. Oil pressure gauge is deceased, so we've got to get one of them. Front shock absorber bushes are completely gone, so that needs new bushes. All of that's deteriorated over the years, look. So it's all just going to smash itself to pieces. So we'll get a new shock absorber for it. I haven't even had it running. It just came here. Like, it was in a Harley Davidson. It was in P&D Customs, then it went to Harley Davidson in Guildford or Dorking, and sat in there for years. And then Tim brought it down to us to try and get it sorted out. You know, it's got a big belt drive on it, which is kind of totally unnecessary, but it's the look, isn't it? Well, that's the seat that was on it. So that was that. As you can see, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So I maybe put another bobber seat on it or something with some springs, or got to have a look through. I do big, quite padded gel-filled ones now as well.
So historically, how would it had rear suspension? I mean, there's nothing in the bike, so normally you get that from the seat.
Yeah, no, it's just a hardtail chopper, hardtail, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But see, it's not even the seat it had on it. So we just got to try and make something to make it a bit more rideable, realistically, you know. That's the trouble with it. He said it's virtually unrideable.
Yeah.
It's done 83 miles from new.
Whoa.
He rode it like 200 yards down the road and got off it and said, you can't ride it.
Wow.
It's ridiculous, you know. So, and he's not worried about how long it sits here or anything. He said it's something I bought. He said I know I made a mistake, but you know I want to get it right now.
Yeah.
So it's just a process of elimination now, going through all the bits and working out exactly what to do with it. There's absolutely nothing in those, no baffles at all, just open pipes. I've no idea what cc the engine is. It's probably 1800 cc.
Jesus
Might
Christ.
even be a 2 litre, I don't know. Okay, so that goes on there. And we've got to somehow try and get some sort of baffles in here. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it yet, because your other pipe just goes right back then. So he goes in there, but clearly that'll be very, very loud, very loud. So the rear pipe isn't a problem. You've got plenty of room there to play around with. It's getting it all lined up and making sure we can get something in here to quieten it down. Could possibly even run 2 into 1 and just put a big silencer on the back. Not sure yet. Tanks have got rust in them, so I've got to go through those. But the main thing was front suspension, you can't ride it, and the seat, you can't ride it, and getting the noise down. And I'm pretty sure he said he wanted indicators put on it to get it through something in Portugal, but that's going to be a bit of a strange one to do, because there really isn't anywhere to mount anything. But it's very long and stretched out frame. Even, I mean, I'm short, but I can't reach the brake pedals and all that sort of stuff, but Tim is a big bloke, he's tall, so... Robin, can we just lower that down on the front wheel, mate? Okay, coming down. Okay. Got her in it. Yeah? Right. Right, now you see the angle of that?
Yeah.
So if you go over a bump now, if you're not trying to shunt it that way, it's going to do that.
Yeah.
So that's our main priority, was to get that right. And it now looks as it should do. You know, it's not all up on its tippy toes like it was. Obviously, front's a little bit high in the back, but the back tyre's flat, it needs a new tyre. You haven't got a lot of ground clearance, but it never had any, realistically. So
what can you do about the ground clearance then?
nothing. Well, you can put bigger wheels in it.
Yeah.
You'll get another inch out of that maybe, but...
How much clearance does it need? Really? I mean, is there a legal limit at all?
Nah, you can do what you like.
The thing is, if you go over anything, you just...
Oh, it'll bottom out. Yeah, it'll bottom out. But it didn't have any anyway, look. I mean, that bottom pipe, you probably got inch and a bit. It's just built as a show bike.
Yeah,
I
see.
You know, that's the issue. But now you can see how that spring's opened up now.
Yeah.
So you've got rebound on that now,
yeah.
Whereas it never had that at all. You can see by the angle of the rockers on there. That's going like that, which means you've got suspension, yeah?
Yeah.
So it'll do that. That, as it was, is going downwards like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
So everything is just smashing itself up through the whole front end. This is parallel now, as it should be. So it's got half a chance of working now. Harley Davidson that live to ride. Harley Davidson, they put it on upside down.
Love it.
That's basically it, really, Stu.
Cool.